we just now saw that a lipid is basically a phospholipid. So phospholipid consists of the head group, which is made up of phosphate, and two types of tails which are made up of fatty acids. Now, inside the cell membrane, there are different types of lipids based on different types of head groups which are present inside the lipids. So there are different types of lipids, something like phosphatidylcholine, also something called as phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylethanolamine, or phosphatidylinositol, etc. So these all are different types of phospholipids. And just now said that what exactly is a phospholipid? It consists of mainly the head group, which is made up of phosphate, and it has got two tails which are made up of fatty acids. So all these different types of phospholipids which we just now have discussed, all they have got different types of head groups. So suppose if a particular phospholipid has got choline as a head group, then that type of lipid will be considered as a phosphatidylcholine. If the head group has got serine, which is a type of a head group, then that type of a phospholipid will be called as a phosphatidylserine. So different types of head groups can be present. So all these different types of phospholipids are present inside the cell membranes, and they have got different roles. So some of the major roles of these phospholipids are nothing but they act as receptors for different cell signals. So all these different types of phospholipids can act as receptors for different cell signals. So now the question is, in the beginning we said the name of the model of this particular cell membrane, which was devised by Jonathan and Singer, it was called as Fluid Mosaic Model. So the question is, why is it considered as fluid? So basically all these lipids which are present in the cell membrane, they are in gel-like form, and the reason they are in the gel-like form is majorly they consist of unsaturated fatty acids. So majority of the lipids have got unsaturated fatty acids. Now you understand the meaning of unsaturated. Unsaturated means they consist of double bonds. Now because they consist of double bonds, so their overall melting point is low. So because of the presence of double bonds, the melting point of these fatty acids is low. So hence, because the melting point is low, majority of the cell membranes of especially the animals or even the plants, these cell membranes are liquid at room temperatures because they majorly consist of unsaturated fatty acids. And what we need to know is basically these lipids majorly show lateral movement in the cell membrane. So basically, so suppose when this is the cell membrane, these phospholipids, as we just now saw, they are going to show a lateral movement inside the cell membrane. Lateral movement means they are going to move from one side to the other. Very occasionally, they also show a movement which is considered as a flip-flop movement. So flip-flop movement is the one in which basically this particular lipid molecules are going to move from one side to other in such a way, in a circular manner, means these two lipid molecules are going to come to this position and these two lipid molecules are going to go in this position. So this will be a kind of a flip-flop movement. But when it comes to lateral movement, generally the lipid molecules are going to move in the sideways direction. We also said that there are proteins which are present inside the membrane, and these proteins are of two types depending on their overall rigidity in the membrane. So suppose if the proteins are throughout the membrane, then such proteins are integral. If the proteins are present only on the surface, Such proteins are extrinsic proteins or peripheral proteins. Now, what is their function? What is the main function of proteins? So remember that proteins are majorly helping in the transport of molecules. So these proteins are majorly helping in transport of molecules. So especially when we are talking about the integral proteins, these are present throughout the membrane. So they are helping in the transport of molecules, and that's why they are also called as channel proteins. So why are they called as channel proteins? Because they are acting as channel. What do we understand by the word channel? Channel means gates. So these are acting like gates. From here the molecules are going to enter from the protein and they are going to go inside. Now one of the reasons why the molecules are going through the proteins and why not directly enter through the lipid? Because logic is very simple. We know that lipids are basically, they are non-polar in nature. So majorly the inside part of the membrane is non-polar because the tails are made up of fatty acids, and fatty acids are non-polar in nature. They are hydrophobic in nature. So if the molecules are going to be polar, the polar molecules will not be able to cross the membranes. They might be able to interact at the surface of the membranes because of the presence of polar heads, but they might not be able to cross the cell membrane because the inside part of the cell membrane is non-polar. So that's why there are these proteins which are acting as channel proteins, so that the polar molecules can easily cross through the proteins, and we know that proteins are polar in nature. So there are different types of proteins, the integral proteins which are present in the cell membrane, which mainly help in the transport of different types of polar molecules. One of the very common type of polar molecules is water itself. So water is transported from the cell membrane with the help of special type of integral proteins called as aquaporins. And likewise, there are so many different types of integral proteins also. Now talking about the peripheral proteins. Now the peripheral proteins which are present, these peripheral proteins, how do they help? They majorly help in cell signaling. That means these proteins, the peripheral proteins, they have something also called as the sugar moieties. So sugar moieties means these peripheral proteins have got themselves some amount of carbohydrate residues which are attached to them. So these carbohydrates which are attached to these external proteins, they are going to help in receiving the signals which are coming to the cell, and that's why they play a very important role in cell signaling. They help in receiving the signals. So they basically also act as receptors of the different types of signals which are coming to the cells. So friends, in this particular video we have discussed about the cell membrane, we have discussed about the fluid mosaic model, and we understood why is it called as the fluid mosaic model. We understood what is the role of the lipids which are present in the fluid mosaic model as well as the proteins which are present in the fluid mosaic model. Also remember that the cholesterol which is present inside the cell membrane, what is the role of cholesterol? The cholesterol which is present in the cell membrane, it helps in maintaining the fluidity of the cell membrane. So all these three molecules, basically the lipids or whether it is the proteins or cholesterol, these all are very important for the functioning of cell membrane. In fact, they are important for the functioning of the cells. So if you have understood this particular video, please like, share and subscribe to One Page Biology. Do share it with your friends, and if you have any doubts, do mention them in the comment section. So this is Prafull signing off. See you all in the next video with some other biology related concept. Till that time, take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Bye bye.